Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Odin here on this fine Sunday evening. Um, Enjoying myself a Boilermaker. I was watching the Chiefs and Bills AFC divisional round playoff game, which is looking like another barn burner whenever those two play. It's always fun, except the Chiefs always get the advantage, which pisses me off. But which is funny now that I live in Missouri and I absolutely hate the Chiefs, have my whole life. And here I am in Missouri, where they all love their Chiefs. And yeah, not me. Fuck those guys. Uh, but that said, I can respect that they're very good. Mahomes is fucking the best ever, pretty much. I mean, it's almost a foregone conclusion at this point. Like, and it's really weird to say that. Especially because after Brady Manning, I was kind of like, are we ever going to see the great quarterback play ever again? You know, or that kind of crazy dominance. And here we are, like somebody who's that dominant, but happens to play for a rival team. So fuck them. So I'm going for the Bills. Let's do it this year, Buffalo. I'm kind of hoping for a Bills Lions Super Bowl. That's my ideal right now. The last thing I want is the Ravens Niners Super Bowl, like replay of what 10 years ago or however long ago. So anyway, yeah. So up on the screen here, I've got the most recent page of Kill Them Dead that I was working on. I think last video I hadn't done this right hand portion yet, and so I'll kind of scoot it over there a little bit, or just the camera so you can see it a little more. See the edge. But I had showed the left-hand side, and I was working on the right. So now, if you put the two videos together, you can see holistically what the page looks like. I had a good talk with Skunk Artworks about his plans for how he's going to approach painting these, which got me very excited. I was already excited. I can't wait to see what he does with these. But he kind of wanted to get on the same page, which is awesome. You know, if it wasn't for him living on the other side of the world, we'd probably be on the same page a little more easily. But we had to like schedule a time to sit down and talk about the pages. But very excited. I just love working with the guy. I'm super excited because he did the Hades drawing I did. He did a painting of that. That painted version is, I think, complete. He was sharing it out, so I'm very excited for what he's going to do. And that's Kill Them Dead. I started on a new Shove page, which is just layout pencils, so you wouldn't be able to see them, so that's why I'm showing the same page I showed last week, but just the portion that was not visible. And really quick, on Michael Bancroft's channel, he's been so kind as to share a couple. Well, he does the art share streams, and he's shared my art a few times, which is always awesome. I really appreciate it. For one, just the fact that he notices, he likes it, and that he's sharing it to his audience is awesome. And plus, it doesn't hurt that he has a much broader audience than what I can reach. So I think it's really cool that he not only that he does that, but that he highlights some of our stuff, because he's obviously a huge Skunk Artworks fan, because Skunk won his art contest for the Lucent, and but he was a huge fan. He was always sharing Skunk stuff out there. So yeah, it's cool to know that he likes what we're doing. So I always appreciate that. I'm just like, yeah, that's super cool, you know. I think if I was as much of a YouTube streamer as him, or presence, I would like to do something similar and showcase a lot of other people's art. But as it stands, I do this one little video and my driving and singing videos, and you know, I only have enough time to talk about the stupid shit that I want to talk about and bring up. So also, I got a new mic. I talked about it last video that I was getting one, and it did arrive. And so my very good friend, J-Bot, from Mighty Bot Studios, the creator of BEARZERKER, which is his debut forthcoming book, which I'm very excited to see, because as long as I've known him, I've been bugging him, you know, because I love his style, I love what he's doing, and I'm like, you've got to make something and put it out, take it to completion. And so here he is, he's going for it, and I couldn't be more excited. But he hit me up to do a voiceover for the trailer that he was putting together. Which I was more than happy to do that for him, but I told him my mic sucks. You know, I got another one on order. When it arrives, I'll do the voiceover for you. So I did about, I don't know, 5 different versions or takes, and sent them to him and said, here, you know, like, whichever one you like, run with it. And so I sent that to him late one night. I think I woke up like the next day and he'd already had the trailer like fully ready to go. Like he just slapped the voice on there and it was done. And I felt bad because I was like, you were just waiting? You weren't bugging me about it either. But he was just waiting for the voice for the trailer. He had all the other stuff ready to go, and it's great. I will link that in the description. You should check it out, because if you don't know about J-Bot or you don't know about BEARZERKER, definitely want to check out this trailer. Check out his very unique, cool art style, and this really fun story that he's creating, and I'm just very excited for it. It speaks to all ages. It's fun. He's got a lot of nods to a lot of things that we think are cool naturally, and then putting into this kind of all ages fun epic adventure story, fantasy, sword and sorcery. It's like all kinds of cool stuff. So yeah, check that out, BEARZERKER. I'll put the link down below. What else? So anyway, like I said, he was just waiting, and I did get the new mic. It's one of these cool ones that lights up with color, changes color all the time. So I'm like, I don't care about that, but it is kind of cool. As long as the mic sounds good, that's all I care about. But, you know, cool things like little touches like that. I'm like, oh, cool thing they can do nowadays. Excuse me. So, also, I just got back from watching, so my local theater here was playing Cowboy Bebop, the original anime movie, on the big screen. And I was like, oh, that'd be cool. I was just kind of looking for something to do this evening. And I bought my ticket online going like, well, you know, you never know. It could be sold out. I don't know. Make sure I get my ticket instead of just showing up and buying a ticket. So I get there, get my popcorn, go into the theater. There's no one else there. It was a private showing just for me. The entirety of the movie. I sat through it by myself, enjoying the flick. And that's a really cool experience. It's happened to me a couple times. I think this may have been the first. No, it's happened to me, I think, one other time, where I was by myself in a theater. It happened to me like some other times where I was with a group and we were by ourselves. Like I remember when I was a little kid, I saw the movie Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, with my dad and my brother, and we were the only ones in the theater. And I thought that was super cool. And then I took my daughters one time to a movie, and we were the only ones in the theater, and that was cool. But I think there was one other time, but this may have been it. But it's always kind of weird when you're in this theater all by yourself. But so they have like the upper deck and the lower deck, and then there's like the walkway by the doors between the two decks. And on that walkway, there's 2 seats by one side and 2 seats on the other, and then one solo seat with like 10 feet surrounding it on each side in the middle. And I was like, I guess I'll just take the captain chair and sit here and watch the movie. It seemed like the obvious choice, being there by myself and just watching it. So yeah, I sat in the captain's chair, and it was fun. And Cowboy Bebop, I haven't seen it since about the time it came out, like shortly after that. And it was a fairly big movie as far as like weeb culture, because it was the one that really like outside of Akira, which really sparked a lot of interest, but that kind of like had a little wane, and then Cowboy Bebop was one that really like shot it back up, the interest in Japanimation, and it's a really good movie. And I watched a little bit of the series. It was really good. The original series, not the live action. I did watch a little bit of the live action and wasn't really catching my interest. So, um, but I kind of have this theory about Japanimation, anime, whatever you want to call it. Like, is that there's a big chasm between the really good ones and these really god awful, horrible, just make me want to vomit out of my ass versions. So there's those that are horrible, and that's why I understand like the weeb hatred is like I've seen those, and I'm like, yeah, if that's what you have to go off, certainly, certainly you're gonna hate that culture. But the really good ones, I was talking to James about this the other day, which I think he's going to see it at his theater tomorrow, which is pretty cool. But I was talking about, and I was like, there's the greats, and they're really the only ones I like, and they're kind of the greats in my mind. Now, people have tried to get me into some other stuff, and it, occasionally hit or miss, but and I use great in a relative term. There's only one great Japanimation movie in my mind, and that's Akira. I think visually, soundtrack, just the concept was just so badass and awesome. But the visuals were amazing, and the soundtrack was really cool. Now so my tops are kind of like Ninja Scroll, Ghost in the Shell. I really liked Fist of the North Star. James was telling me about one. I can't remember the name now. I'm gonna have to bug him again. That I do need to check out. But anyway, and Cowboy Bebop's like up there. It's really good. I like the style, the aesthetic, but sometimes it suffers from like going a little, too much one way and too much another, and it gets kind of clunky trying to combine the two because it has this like fun, kind of campy, hip aesthetic, like with the soundtrack and oftentimes with the artwork. But then other times it's like super dramatic and intense, like Akira style, and which sounds great, but sometimes it's just the meeting of the two gets a little clunky sometimes, and that's my only complaint about it. Other than that, it's just really good, because I like that campy aesthetic with the music and everything. But occasionally, it's like can't tell what it wants to be. But it's still a good movie. And the series, from what I understand, is really good. I've watched a little bit, but didn't watch all of it for sure. So yeah, that was my evening. It was pretty cool. Let's see, what else? There's something else I want to talk about. I did lower my ears a little bit earlier today. Hair was getting a little unruly. But part of it was, so I just uploaded about 3 or 4 videos because I was going through my phone, and all these videos I take while driving and singing, they're taking up a lot of space on my phone, so I had to get rid of them. And so I was going through some that I kind of saved, but they just didn't make the cut. I didn't upload them for whatever reason. And a lot of them I knew why. Like after watching them, I'm like, yeah, you screwed that up, but why did you save it? Why didn't you just delete it? And maybe I just forgot. But there was a couple others where I was like, that's actually pretty good. Like, I think you did a good job. Why don't you throw it out there to YouTube? But that stretch of time where those videos were was my hair was shorter and I had no mustache. And Mrs. Good Stuff commented, she was like, your mustache fell off, you know. But I'm like, no, rest assured, it's still there. But those are just old videos. But there was something about seeing my lip again. And I'm like, yeah, kind of, I like changing up my facial hair. Even though it freaks people out sometimes. And it's like the mustache thing has become like iconic and everybody's like, Odin the mustache man. And I'm like, yeah, it's just fucking hair on my upper lip, you know, like what's the but it becomes like nobody else is growing their mustache, like, so apparently I'm like an outlier. So while I finish this story, I'm gonna make another drink. I'm drinking Boilermakers tonight. Making it with the cheap, it even got the plastic bottle, the cheap Evan Williams, which is my preferred for Boilermakers because it's just, but I actually like Evan Williams. I don't care what anyone says. For the price, it can't be beat. But I prefer it to, you know, the other well-known cheap bourbons like Beam or Jack Daniels. And then I'm mixing it with Stella Artois. Stella Artois. Which is another one. I'm like, I don't care what anyone says. Stella Artois is a good beer. Tastes good. I like it. And I've never had it in a Boilermaker, so we're going to see how it does. Well, actually, I just had one. What am I talking about? It was good. So anyway, I'm thinking about, so I lowered my ears. I cut my hair. I say I got a haircut. I cut my hair. And, of course, as I say that, it's doing something weird over here. But watching that video, I'm like, I miss my face. And the reality is, I like switching up my facial hair. You know, there's people I know that have had a beard. They've never not had a beard. And I couldn't even picture what their face looks like without it. There's people I know that clean shaven. They've never let even a 5 o'clock shadow grow on their face. And I can't even picture what they would look like with facial hair. Or they have a goatee and they're rocking a giant goatee or a small goatee or whatever their look is. And you just get used to that. And with kids, it's always one of those things when they get used to like your one look and then you shave it and they're like little kids, you know, like the whole thing of like kids being scared of their own dad because he shaved his beard off. And that's a real thing. You know, I remember my kids being a little weird when I would switch it up, but I never keep anything for too long, so they just got used to that's what Dad does. He changes it up. But I've had the mustache pretty much almost the entirety of last year. There was a short stretch where I shaved it off, but almost the entirety of last year. Anyway, cheers. Make yourself a Boilermaker. They're good. They're good, and they do the trick. And I shaved it off for a little while, and then that's the funny thing about having my driving and singing videos. You can see the different iterations of my facial hair. But I was watching a video after I shaved it off. I was watching an old video when I had the stash, and I was like, man, that's pretty cool. I should grow it again. And I did. And then everybody kind of went all iconic with it, like Odin and his mustache. But watching those last videos, I'm like, yeah, I miss my face, you know, without this thing, the push broom. And so I switch it up all the time for the most part, but I've rocked the mustache for quite a while. And I originally did it in honor of my father, who passed away in January 1st, 2022. And so all of 2023, I did it. Or actually, I did it most of 2022 as well. So it's been almost 2 years where I've been. Oh, that's crazy. No, I did it on the anniversary. Never mind. It's been all of 2023. Never mind. But, because that's the look he always rocked. It was like he had the mustache. He didn't do anything on his chin, but he had the little, like, the soul patch and the mustache, which is classic cowboy. It looks badass. I'll always think it looks badass. It's a Doc Holliday. Um, it's just the tombstone look, right? And so I've got a new job now in a new place, and they don't know me any other way. And so as much as I think about like, oh, kids, but adults get like that too. They're like, what? You should, I can't believe it. I can't believe you changed something. Like, we like what we know. But I like changing my facial hair. It's kind of like clothes, right? Like I have, everybody has like a favorite pair of pants, a favorite outfit or whatever. But if you just filled your wardrobe with all the same outfit, eventually you'd get bored with it. Or like food, like you eat the same food over, it's like it's your favorite meal and you cook it and you make it. After a while, you're just like, yeah, it's my favorite, but it's not anymore. I'm craving something different. And, with facial hair, most guys kind of like develop a look and they just go with it. But I've always changed it. Now, when I wasn't so salt and pepper, I would grow the chops. But these parts of my face grow in pretty gray right now. So I'm like, yeah, the chops don't look as cool as they used to. Now, when I go like full gray, those chops will look pretty cool. But the salt and pepper look, it looks just weird. But I used to do chops. That was like a look especially back when I was a singer. I just thought it looked cool. I saw Danzig do it one time. And I was like, it looks fucking cool. Um, oh, and then I saw Hellboy. Hellboy had that. And he kind of rocked like the chops with the soul patch. And I was like, okay, that looks pretty cool. I'm going to go with that. So anyway, all that to say is like, I might get rid of this mustache. It might be time. The thing is, it can easily come back. All I have to do is stop shaving, and then it comes back. It's crazy. So, as much as people get weird about it, but I'm more weird about like at work, because you don't want to like set the tone that you're an unstable person, right? They're like, oh, he'd like totally changed up his style. I don't know, because that's the other thing. Like, I don't keep the same haircut. I get a haircut. And then I just let it grow for a long time because I don't like getting haircuts. I don't like spending money to like look the same all the time. And so so even then, I remember after I started my job, I cut my hair and everybody was kind of like, "Oh, look what you did." And I'm like, yeah, it's just a haircut, but like everybody else kind of like looks the same every day, all the time. And I can respect that, but it's definitely not me. I get too bored, and it's like, I don't know. I just always want to change things up. And the reality is, I like my look with a mustache. I like my look without a mustache. I like my look with a beard. So whatever the look, I've always liked it. So it's not, I just rock something for a little while and then I'm like, that looks pretty good. But then I'll see an old picture or something and I'm like, yeah, but I think you look pretty good without it. Or you look pretty good with this. And that's the whole reason. Anyway, enough talk about facial hair. So this came up in conversation with James and I the other day. We were talking about like things we want to do with Saturday Night Leaped. Speaking of, last night we had a great episode of Saturday Night Leaped where we had a special guest, former NHL enforcer for the Philadelphia Flyers, heavyweight badass who loved to mix it up, Derek Mathers. Which is funny because I say Mathers now because on the stream he said Mathers. And I'm like, well, I'll respect how he pronounces his last name. But I always thought Mathers. And it goes back to Leave It to Beaver days. Jerry Mathers. And I always assumed he said Jerry Mathers. I think I've always heard it as Jerry Mathers. I think they introduced it at the beginning of the show with Jerry Mathers as the Beav. You know. But, which was a funny show. Especially when Ward got mad at the Beaver. And he's like, I gotta smack the Beaver around, you know. I gotta go spank the Beaver. You're like, all right. They make this show just as a giant double entendre. Who will ever know? But anyway, he shares the same last name with as our guest, former NHL forward. But Derek was super cool. A lot of fun to hang out with. Had some great stories. What a treasure just to hang out. And yeah, a guy who likes to punch people in the face. What's wrong with that? Like, if I was able to get paid to do that, I would totally do that. Because especially in my younger years, I was just a scrappy dude. And like, I like getting in fights, especially because I usually won. Like, if I always got my ass kicked, I probably would quit liking it. But now I did get destroyed one time, but and I certainly got hit and my face beat up, but but typically won. You know, where it's one of those you should see the other guy kind of thing. But so I get it, and like as he's telling these stories, I'm like, man, that would be fun. Like especially like once you get to NHL level and he's making, you know, quite a bit of money. And it's like, they're going to pay you? And, you know, at that time, the way he describes it, you're basically there to enforce, to like, keep people in check, literally and figuratively. And I'm like, you're getting paid to like beat people up. Yes, you got to be able to skate. Yes, you got to actually play hockey, you know. But you know, they bring a certain type of player in just for a very specific reason. But what was cool was he talked about the year he scored 40 goals. He's like, I can actually play, you know, but this is why they brought me in. This is what I love doing. You know, it's just beating other people up. So anyway, yeah, we had a great time. I may throw that link in the description as well, because it was a fun time. But while James and I were talking the other day, Weekly World News came up, and I just unpacked, so I found this book. My Bat Boy Lives, Weekly World News. It's just got tons of covers and articles all through it. Let's see if we can. Let's pull up a random one. Boom. What's this one? Oh, it looks like the king. Elvis is alive. Penetrating pop culture exposés. As Winston Churchill once said, there's a fine line between famous and freakish. Perhaps no line. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the pages of the Weekly World News, where celebrities and freaks not only share headlines, they exchange dating tips. But I'm actually, and I hope no one steals this idea as I throw it out there, but I'm actually looking at that book for inspiration for future shove stories. I think there's a common thread of insanity that will spark some good ideas. So that said, so let me just update you on Unconditional Shove before we wrap up. Unconditional Shove Volume 2. I have 3 or 4 more. I think it's 4 more pages. I like making it sound better than it is. I think 4 more pages to draw for the one story that I'm drawing and writing. I have another story that I'm co-writing with James that I'll probably draw, but I'm hard at work on Kill Them Dead. There's a story from Hojo I may or may not draw. It's all time dependent. We've got another story from James called Screenplay, which is probably going to have a guest artist. And then one more story from Connor McCreary, which that one may or may not have a guest artist as well. All things are kind of time dependent. But with the Connor story, Connor McCreary knows artists, so he may be able to find. Artists are quick to jump at like a 10-page, 15-page story. When you're like, hey, I want you to commit to like an ongoing series for the rest of your life, then that's when they're like, oh, I don't know, So doing like these little one-offs, it's probably not as hard, or I'm hoping not as hard to rein in an artist and get them excited for like a nice quick hitter. So he may know somebody who's going to work perfect for the story he's writing. Now, I don't know anything about the story he's writing. I've yet to hear what direction he's thinking. But nonetheless, excited to throw that in the mix. So it's going to be a more varied volume, and it's going to be a lot more stories, and they're going to be a little more concise and shorter, as I've explained before. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. But I am always thinking of ideas, and so is James. There's plenty of times like we have just some stupid idea. That would make a great shove story. yes, it would. And that's kind of the beauty of doing the quick hitter anthology stories, is that like every stupid little concept that rolls across our brains can be manifest, going like, no, it's just a one-off. There's no reason to make like a series out of this craziness, but it's perfect for this anthology, So that's what we want Shove to become more going forward, and I'm on board. I'm excited, and I love the idea of guest writers. I love the idea of guest artists as well. It's like I'm always going to have my fingerprints all over it. It's my baby, but I did kind of always hope that that's what it would become, is more of a showcase, more of a place for other creators and other writers and artists to be like, oh, I'd love to get in on this, and I kind of match some people up and make it a fun little area where people can just kind of get that one little one-off story off their chest. It's not something they want to make a series out of, but they love this little concept, and they're like, that would be cool, so that's kind of what we're hoping it becomes in the future, and this volume 2 is a step in that direction. So yeah, very excited for that. Outside of that, what else? I mean, I could talk about all kinds of stupid stuff, but I think I'm just like personal weird shit that I've been dealing with. It's just life. Everybody deals with that stuff. And I could just talk about it like everybody. But I think I'm going to wrap it up. As always. Whoops. My smoke. As always, though, I hope whatever place you're at in life, whatever obstacles you're facing, that you're facing them head on. You're not cowering or running or hoping for the best. That's I was recently watching the Simpsons, and I was on season 5. I talked about this last video. But there's an episode where Homer goes back to college, and he's got to like pass this test, or he can't be a nuclear power plant, whatever. And he meets all these eggheads. And they're like trying to scheme of a way that he can pass, and he's like, they've tried this, they've tried that, nothing's working, and he's sitting there, they go, Homer, do you have a plan? And he goes, I do have a plan. I'm gonna lie under a stack of coats and hope that everything works out. Now in the episode, it said it much better than I just did, but that whole concept of like sometimes when life gets like overwhelming, you just got tons of shit to like monitor and take care of. You kind of wish you could just like lie under a stack of coats and hope that everything somehow works out. And so that's why I always love that line, is because it's relatable. It's relatable to just be like, I'm just gonna like do nothing and hope that everything works out. But that said, I've had a lot of like that kind of stuff going on. Learning the ins and outs of Missouri rules and regulations for property and vehicles and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I moved from Washington State, which I thought was probably a more bureaucratic state. And I was kind of promised when I moved out here that it was like less like that. And the more I've had to deal with it, the more I'm like, it's not. This place is, the way it is, Washington State didn't have a state tax, which was pretty interesting considering. But they get their money another way, like the sales tax was ridiculously high. They had tolls, they had all kinds of shit. And I move here and there's like, well, there's a state tax, but the sales tax is low. And then I'm like, but wait, I'm finding out. They always get their pound of flesh one way or another. And just dealing with the rigmarole. I was like, that's just normal life stuff, though. I'm not going to bore you with all the details. But anyway, that's stuff we all get. And as I had to face a lot of these things, I'm like, I just wanted to lie under a pile of coats and hope that everything worked out. But my whole point being is, wherever you're at in life, I hope you're facing your obstacles head on. Yeah, there's a moment where you kind of go, could I just pretend I don't have to deal with this shit and just hope it goes away? But that's not life, and you're going to have to deal with it. So I hope you're facing it head on with confidence, courage, and strength. And again, a great care for the loved ones around you. And above all, act with integrity, which I think that's the secret sauce to like really... I don't know if I'd say success. It's different how different people define success, because obviously most very wealthy people, which is a sign of success for a lot of people, is saying money. Most of them were very unscrupulous with how they acquired that. So, but in my mind, integrity is that through line that actually gives you fulfillment in the deeds you do and in the accomplishments that you have, to where you don't feel like a slimy piece of shit to where you got. So act with integrity. That is very important. And with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for checking it out. Hope you're all doing pure awesome. And until next time, it's Odin here. We'll see ya.